Good day, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the GSR Podcast. I'm your host, Angelo Zulueta, and today we'll be once again covering little tips for a big difference. Yeah. What a wonderful start we have today. Anyway, let's get right to it. So, as you've known from the previous episodes with talking with our head of property management, Sir Ian, and with the ramblings we had from the previous Little Tips Big Difference podcast episode, I've been pretty into home cooking and home care, and the journey has still continued past that episode, and I am learning more and more things about how to take better care of my home. The thing I'd like to draw focus on today is the kitchen countertop. Wonderful little thing, comes in all sorts of shapes and sizes, from islands to large countertops to a small humble studio or 1BR sinks where you inevitably just stuff your microwave, air fryer, and God knows every other small appliance you have so that you can do your own little chef thing. Anyway, I digress. I'm sure that every single person who owns a unit, owns a home, or is even renting is aware of just how important it is that countertop remains your lifeline. There are many things you have to keep in mind to make sure that countertop lasts as long as possible and remains healthy so that you don't have to constantly maintain it. So, first of all, once again, a friendly reminder, please, if you're cooking with butter and oil, do not, I repeat, do not dump your liquid oil or butter down your kitchen countertops because it will clog both your pipes and your grease trap. It's going to hasten things. It's going to make it absolutely horrible to clean your stuff up later when the water inevitably rises to the surface and you have to stare at your sink for 5 minutes for it to go down before you repeat the process all over again. It does not feel good, so please, 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 if you have leftover oil or leftover butter, just take a towel or take a paper towel, a microfiber towel, any of the two, wipe up the excess food scraps, soak up the oil, soak up the butter, and throw it in your trash can. Future you will thank you later. Totally not saying that from personal experience, by the way. On that note as well, if you want to go the extra mile to protect your sinks, don't be afraid to invest in a more comprehensive grill or, a sink guard so that it picks up all of the excess food scraps so that you can chuck the rest of them, like rice or extra leafy greens or whatnot, in the sink without worrying about them clogging up your pipes and your grease trap. Notice that I'm saying pipes and grease trap. It is a separate thing to maintain and deep clean both of those things. Because if you let residue build up naturally, it's not just the grease trap that you have to book maintenance for. It's also the pipes. And both of them are rather specialized in how you need to maintain them, and there's a lot of setup involved. You can do it yourself if you are much more proficient in being a handyman. Personally, I am not. I do not have the skills right now to clean a grease trap or the pipes by myself. But it's a laborious process because you're going to have to dispose of the fluid and the grease and residue buildup in both. I got to watch some grease trap maintenance happen rather recently because it was about time for us to, get that done in our unit. And the process took upwards of about an hour by a professional who had to haul in several tubs with a push cart to make sure that all of the residue was disposed of. And that was just for the grease trap. We are still queued up for pipe cleaning down the line. So, food scraps, oil, butter, down those two, that's a no-no, so that you don't have to pay upwards of $2,000 or $3,000 every month for maintaining both of them, and so that you don't have to, or every 2 or 3 months you can extend the amount of time it takes to have that maintenance done if you just follow that simple step. So that's one thing. Another thing is probably if you do a lot of cooking, you'll notice that a lot of the smells of your aromatics or just the stuff you make in general will probably stick to the walls. I mentioned this earlier in a previous episode. I love boiling citrus fruits like scraps from lemon, orange, or lime peels, or even calamansi, and then just mixing that with cinnamon sticks. That helps with making the air around your unit smell a lot better. It's effectively like having your own diffuser, only instead of the essential oils, it's the whole ass lemon. It's the whole thing. But aside from that, another thing you can do, and this works on every surface of your house, on every surface in every area of your house, is to just get a damp towel and wipe down the walls. That way it removes any of the built up residue, any of the built up smells. It's something you can do first before applying stuff like Lysol, because Lysol and other air fresheners can only do so much. It'll make the air smell better for a time, but if the scent and the residue is still there, then inevitably you're going to want to spray more, which is a big no-no, because too much of this stuff can and will affect your lungs. So better to organically erase these smells first by just wiping your walls down. You can do this like once a week or even once every 2 weeks if you're not that active in the kitchen, just as a small health thing that you can do for yourself before bombarding your area with air fresheners. Of course, a fan and an air purifier also helps, but I'll get to that later, because the one thing I want to cover for the first half of this is kitchen countertop care. As you live in the unit and as you use your unit, please do not be afraid to check the bottoms of your sinks for leaks, because if you leave them unchecked and you just let it go, the supports handling your kitchen countertops will wear themselves down from the water damage, and it's inevitable. It's a sink. Of course, there's going to be running water through it, but it's better that you take note of that water damage sooner rather than later, and if given the opportunity, either have it repaired, or if you're a new unit owner, have it reviewed by your architect or your presiding unit renovator, so that they can future-proof it in advance, even if it means a total renovation, because even though you have to pay upwards of 5 figures to get that done, it beats the inconvenience and the risk of having your countertops suddenly cave in, because water damage is not easily stopgapped or replaced depending on how your countertop is constructed. So pay very careful attention to the buildup of damage in your kitchen countertops so that your sinks don't suddenly collapse. And as early as you can, if you're sensing that, it's getting along in years or getting along in damage, feel free to consult a property management specialist, someone who does renovation. See what you can do for your kitchen countertops, so that not only is it future-proofed, refurbished, but if there are any overarching possible safety hazards that may or may not have been regulated or can be improved upon, because stock units are stock units. They don't come with all the bells and whistles right off the bat. At the very least, having your countertops looked at means less likelihood of running into fire problems or electrical problems. And it's a risk that's understandable to encounter, because you got your water everywhere. For those who aren't using induction cookers and have the grills, it's fire. You got to make sure that it's safe. You got to make sure that you're safe and that you can continue using that kitchen countertop for a long period of time. So yeah, thank you for coming to my mini TED Talk on that first part about making sure your countertop is well maintained. Now let's move on to the topic of air. I mentioned Luften, which is thanks to a wonderful YouTuber German dude by the name of Liam. He has wonderful stuff. I don't know him personally, but I learned a lot about some European homemaking culture from him. Apparently, it's a German practice. We posted about this on the page as well, but I feel the need to elaborate it here, where basically you replace all of the stagnated air in the house by airing it out, opening all of your windows and letting the air in every 5 to 10, every morning and or afternoon for about 5 to 10 minutes. This doesn't completely apply to condominium unit owners, because, the quality of air in Europe is different from the quality of air here, for one. For another thing, the higher up you are with condominium floors, the more at risk you are of, lower air quality, I think, sometimes, because the haze and the smoke from the comings and goings of life, they do tend to go up. They will affect you. But making a practice of airing out your unit, removing the stagnated air, and combining that with the practice of wiping down your walls, occasionally boiling water and boiling citrus, or even just turning on an electric fan and or an air purifier to let the air circulate. It's not only very good for your health, but it's also a really good thing for your mental wellness as well. So I would very much advocate doing it. So on the topic of dust buildup, please also don't be afraid to have your electric fans or your air cons cleaned. Electric fans are very easy to clean. All you need is a screwdriver, a couple of microfiber towels, and some elbow grease. I'm sure anyone who's been bothered by seeing the dust build up on the edges of the blades can attest to that. But for aircon cleaning, although you can learn, there are courses on Testa for that, it's best to just have that done so that your running electric bill, even though you have an inverter or whether you have one or not, so that your running electric bill from keeping air conditioning on doesn't spike up too much. Because the cleaner your air conditioning is, the cleaner your air cons are, the less power it'll take to cool down your entire room, and the longer the lifespan of your air conditioner. God knows we need it, especially for the absolutely insane summer months and summer season we have here in the Philippines. So again, please make sure to have your aircon maintained as well, and maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks for your peace of mind, or even once a month, try fiddling with your electric fans and taking them apart and cleaning the fan blades. And please be sure to observe proper safety. For the love of God, make sure they're unplugged when you take them apart so that bad things don't happen. So there's that. Aside from that, what else? I think that's all I can cover for now with regards to dust and with regards to wellness in that area. So we'll just take a short break, and then I will cave through the depths of my brain to throw a couple of more tips at you before I let you go. So I'll see you in however long you need to pause this video. Bye for now.
For all of your property needs, come to Global Strategy Real Estate, GSR. We at GSR are your one-stop shop for anything related to your property and more. From management to buying, selling, documentation, and maintenance, we have your back. At GSR, we aspire to provide the level of quality and service which put Japan on the map as one of the hallmarks of hospitality. Let us manage your property today.
Hello again, it's me, Angelo Zulueta, and we're back from our break for the Little Tips for a Big Difference episode of this GSR podcast. Okay, so I figure we can round off this episode by just talking about water. We already talked about food, we already talked about air quality, so let's talk water. One of the really interesting tips that I felt I needed to bring up again, thanks to Sir Ian, is that it is effectively fine to pour boiling water down your sink with regards to cleaning up some overdue residue, built up of residue, or if you're basically entering your unit for the first time in a while, it's a good way to flush out bugs. Though it would also be good for you to ask your plumber or contractor what type of pipes your sink has, because depending on the type of pipe, it might not be as good. But the reason why it's fine for boiling water to be poured down your sinks is because, one, the structure of sink pipes mainly lets it flow through without building up or staying there. And two, since you're going to be using the faucet on your sink frequently, water's going to be flowing anyway, so the boiling water won't do too much damage to your pipes, and it'll help probably nudge up some of the residue, put it down into the, sewage and whatnot. So that's one. Number two is, part of the reason water damage on your kitchen countertops is also very, very important to take note of is if you're, specifically if you're a condominium unit owner, if you're not careful, the water damage on your kitchen countertop may lead to leaks that will affect the unit owners on the floors below you. So not only will it compromise the structural integrity of your whole setup for your kitchen, It will also lead to problems in the roofs and the other areas of people in the units below you, which is why it's very important to do preventative maintenance so that that sort of thing doesn't happen. Because when it starts, it leads to a whole host of problems that can take days or even weeks of labor to resolve, depending on the severity of the damage. And of course, it's going to cost a very pretty penny due to, well, refurbishing not just your unit, but possibly the units of people below you. This doesn't just apply to kitchen countertops. This also applies to bathrooms, which is what I wanted to cover next. It is not safe to pour boiling water down your bathrooms, down your bathroom tiles, because the structure of the piping there and the fact that flowing water doesn't necessarily always happen for your bathroom sinks, unless for whatever reason you're keeping your sink running. I don't know why you do that. But basically, the pipe structure for bathrooms does not bode well for putting boiling water down those. So please do not pour boiling water down your bathroom stuff. There are specialized bathroom cleaning products like bath bombs or even salsa, though don't overuse salsa, that can help declog your bathroom and your bathroom pipes of debris. Preventative maintenance for bathrooms is also very important, especially if you have washing machines in your bathrooms. Because once again, buildup of water damage leads to really rough refurbishing shenanigans, though it's a lot easier to repair tile than it is wood. On the topic of wood, if your unit has wooden floors or wooden finishes, if you, please, for the love of God, do not dry any of your clothing on wooden floors or near wooden floors, because it is much more labor intensive and expensive to deal with damage to wooden floors compared to tile. Replacing wood is much more difficult, and it's a lot easier for mold and for water damage to affect surrounding, not just the area that you're drying where the wood is on, but surrounding wooden tiles, surrounding wooden planks, because wood expands when it's exposed to water for way too long, and you would not want that for your floors. You do not want that headache. If you don't have a balcony, it's fine to just dry stuff in the bathroom, if ever, because at least that area is meant to take water. So one of the good things about all of the issues that I've discussed is that thankfully, and I know this is a shameless plug, but of course it is, well, thankfully GSR can help you with any and all of your preventative maintenance and actual maintenance problems. If you have a grease trap that needs cleaning, if your pipes need draining and declogging in any of the areas, if you want to have your home inspected for fire hazards, safety hazards, or renovation of any kind so that it can be easier to maintain your home, feel free to give GSR a call. Feel free to contact us on this page or the plethora of other social media and or contact information that we have. And if you liked this episode, you can go ahead and follow us on our SOCMed. We have a Linktree link that we're going to be popping up here with a nice QR code that you can scan, where you can find pretty much every social media under the sun where we're on. Or you can just look for us on your social media platform of choice with the tag @GSR Philippines. That's the tag @GSR Philippines. We also have a website, www.gsr-ph.com. That's www.gsr-ph.com. If you'd like to review this episode or listen to the previous episodes we had, and if you liked our content, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube Music as well. Also, one more thing for water. Please, if you can help it, do not let stagnant water just stay in your unit. That's a breeding ground for mosquitoes, and as people with Asian parents, I am very sure that we have been lambasted about that to high heaven and back, but it wouldn't help to remind, just to keep the spirit of things going. Anyway, this has been little tips for a big difference, and I've been your host, Angelo Zulueta. Thank you so much for listening and for coming, and see you on the next one. Bye for now.